Pardon me?
Is that mandatory?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's so much harder. I had a kid like last week get his head stuck in the desk in one of our rooms, and like that doesn't typically happen with a high school kid. It's a whole other different set of problems.
That's like
Yeah, it's so how many people here mentor FRC or are on FRC? And FLL or FLL junior? You guys do both of them?
I'm trying to help her.
Okay, so a couple of the things that we'll go over are the two different kinds of outreach that you can do. And I actually just recently started doing community outreach with my FLL junior team. I've always just done outreach for FRC because it seems so much easier. You have high school kids there, they have like time and energy and manpower, so you can send them out there to change the world. But there's also things that you can get the younger kids to do, and it's good to get them started doing things and getting involved in the community, and they're usually really excited about it. So we can go over that too. So obviously, do we have anybody that's on a rookie team here? Or is that oh, okay. Welcome. So for rookies, there's non-STEM based community outreach and there's STEM based community outreach. Both of these are important, especially if your goals are to entice the judges and kind of make sure you're checking all of the boxes and covering all your bases. So you want to be involved in spreading awareness about STEM and just getting people engaged in making awareness of your team in the community. But you also want to do things that you're just doing them for the good of the community, just to get your name out there, and also for your kids to volunteer. So we'll go over the STEM-based outreach, because that's actually a little bit easier, I think, and nobody really has a hard time figuring out, I don't think, if I'm wrong, please interrupt me and I'll answer any questions, but I don't think anyone really has a hard time coming across or coming up with ideas for STEM-based outreach. So that's things like going to your local fair or festivals, going and doing maker fairs, which are popping up all over the place. Doing any kind of robot demo at a local school or basically anywhere. If you take your robot, set it up, and show your robot, talk about first, have your kids talk to people. And a lot of things come from that. You can recruit students, you can recruit mentors, you can sometimes gain new sponsors. So there's a lot of reasons to do it, and your kids get a lot of benefit from it, especially because they're talking about the robot, they're practicing talking to people that they might not be comfortable with, which tends to be a big theme on first teams. And they're just getting a little bit more confident talking about things, and you're really just spreading a message. Maybe you're meeting people that could start new teams from another town, and that's important too. So, has anyone in here had any trouble finding the right kind of place to get involved with STEM-based outreach? Or is there you guys doing anything really innovative that you'd like to share? No. So I know that just recently there was a maker fair in Boston, right, Christine? That a couple of teams took part in, and there was a lot of people there. So one of the things that you can do, a team local to me pointed this out, that you set up a Google alert. They set up a Google alert for maker fair local maker fair registration. And anytime that there's something going on where people are looking for vendors, they get a little notification saying, hey, this is coming, and that way they don't miss it. Because a lot of the times you don't really hear about something until it's too late. And then it's, I wish I would have known about that. We would have gotten a booth, or we would have done X, Y, Z, or taken the time to get the kids together, because that's always something you run into. Also, like you get an opportunity and it's 2 weeks out, and kids are all busy. There's something going on. So if you try to book them far enough out, get kids situated, have a plan, it makes it much more smooth and relaxed. And then you have a bunch of kids and mentors that are more willing to participate in the next time, because it's not going to, it's a disorganized mess. And also you're putting out your message and your face and your team out to the community, so you want to look like you're organized. It's always good to, I know most teams don't necessarily, I don't know any teams actually that bring like their entire pit to a demo, but it's good if you have just the basics. If you want to have like a tablecloth, it's even just the color of your team. You don't have to go out and get your whole big fancy tablecloth with your team's logo on it, although that's beautiful. You could just have a tablecloth, have some flyers to make sure that if people want to take something and contact you later, you have your website. You should also, one of the most important things, well, to me it's the most important, is to have potential sponsor information. So not only are you going out there and telling people with kids, look at this wonderful program, this is what we do, and this is what we offer, and this is how you contact us, but every person that you meet, for every adult that you meet, they have a job, mostly, and they might have a company or have connections that they might want to help with. So you can find sponsors or mentors. So if you go to these events, even if you only have a couple, keep some sponsors. If you have sponsor forms, keep them on you. And you should also have business cards, even if you don't have. I know it's a little ridiculous to have business cards for every mentor, but if you have just a card that you can hand out that has your contact in a generic info at your email, that's something you want to do. And now I want to get into non-STEM based volunteerism because I think that's where some teams seem to have the most trouble finding ways to interact with the community that are meaningful and don't take up an entire season. So, what are some of the things that your team currently does in community?
I think right now, years ago, like food pantry was moving, so a few of us one day.
That's easy enough and if you're
We're going to a craft fair in a couple of weeks.
that's fine.
Some potatoes.
Well, that's cool. Are you gonna sell stuff there? Anybody else? Okay. So we're all really lucky now to be in a time where Facebook and social media are a thing. So one of the biggest things that I hear lately is people when you're looking for a way to get involved in your community, all towns now have like your town group page, which is I think both good and bad in my town at least. So that's one of the key places that you really can use that to find what's happening in your community that's important to people. Especially now when it's around the holidays, I think it's easy. There's so many things that you can get involved in. It's right before kickoff, so your kids are just probably starting to meet more often. But anytime that you're kind of trying to just test the waters and see what's out there and where there's a need, just kind of tell everybody on your team, the people that are involved, listen and see if there's something going on where, the food pantry is in need and it's about to be holiday time and their shelves are running empty, or a toy drive. That's always a big deal. You can do something cool like a Lego toy drive, something that kind of ties it all together. And you can ask, you can just say, this is my robotics team, we're looking for ways to get involved with the community. The one drawback of that is that you're going to have a ton of people probably that give you recommendations, and then how do you pick, and then how do you politely let down the others? So it's kind of, I think, better to get a feel for what's going on in your town. An example, in my town, that everybody, including myself, is obsessed with dogs. So a couple of years ago, I noticed that there was this huge, I don't even understand what was going on, but it was sheer madness to get this dog park in our town open. And it was a mess. There was like brush and scrap, and it had been a bottle redemption plan or something unpleasant prior. So it needed a lot of cleaning up. They were having a hard time finding manpower to do it. And I was seeing a lot of posts about it with people that really wanted to get it off the ground. So obviously, I think robots and dogs don't completely go hand in hand, but it was important to the people in my town. And it's a town where we're kind of lucky enough that it was one of the more pressing issues that was happening at the time, as silly as that sounds. So And I have a team of, 25 high school kids that I can send to a park and tell them, go clean up this mess. So in telling them, hey, this is what's going on in the town, they also, they were selling pavers, so the little stones that you can, so our kids stayed outside of grocery stores for a couple of weekends and sold those. They cleaned up the entire park. They built a bench that has our logo on it, and we have the bench installed. So that was something that was really important to our town at the time. We helped to get it off the ground. Our sign is there, and also there was so many people because as this was happening in our town, people were posting pictures of, look at what happened at the dog park today, and in all these pictures, our team was there with their shirts on and doing stuff. So people would say, oh, that's the robotics team, and it really got things off the ground for us, where people figured out who we were and what we were doing. And after that, we got so many requests for help that we got people coming to us asking for help with science projects. We had people coming to us asking for help building picnic tables because we had built one. So you can't necessarily help everybody, and it's important to let people know that during X time you're completely and thoroughly booked and can't do anything. But there's a lot of things you can do in the off season, and that's the best time to utilize. So if you're not a team that meets year round, it's a really good idea to take a couple of months during the summer and set that aside for, this is when we do our outreach. That way you're not build season or competition season trying to scrounge up kids who do have other things going on, like school and activities and prom and stuff. So take this time and let them work on things during that. And if you have a large team, you could even break them up into, this is a team that's working on this thing. And it's okay to do that. If you have a bigger team, it's okay to utilize them so that you're making the most impact in the most places. There's so many teams that have like 60 kids, and then there's find out that there's five kids that are doing certain things. So it's better to just utilize them all. Even if you have to break them up, then one of them's not carrying the burden of all of it.
So this kind of outreach, I have done that mostly for my Girl Scout troop or Boy Scout troop or other troop that we know that this kind of outreach is for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I never think about the robotic team will be doing this kind of outreach. I would always thinking about, because the concept of the robotic team is to spread STEM. So I would do the STEM-based outreach, not thinking about to drive with a outreach for this.
Right.
So it's like, how comes it would be part of the robotic outreach then?
I think it's for the same reason, and again, that's why doing the STEM-based outreach, that is, I'll go maybe off record or road in saying that is the most important, is doing the STEM-based outreach, but doing things that are just for the good of your community, your team's going to benefit from that in different ways, just like the Girl Scouts would. Because if you're doing just STEM-based activities, that's great and that's meaningful, and you're spreading the message of first and your team, but you're also missing a huge chunk of the population that either isn't already involved in STEM, so maybe they don't have kind of their finger to the pulse of what's going on in the STEM universe in your town, so they're gonna miss out on that. But if you're, so it connects you to a larger, people at your food pantry. If they're not interested in STEM at all, and they wouldn't have met, but now because they volunteered at the food pantry, now those people know about the team. They know that it's something that's going on in the town, and if a new person moves to town with kids that's the right age, they might say, hey, there's a robotics team in town. So it's really just spreading awareness outside of the STEM bubble. Because
And then if they vote, and
yeah,
they vote positively for STEM things at the school.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But do you also bring some of the STEM concept out there? Because our town have the parade every year. It's
Mhm.
not like the whole town, right? We go there.
Yep.
But
You
we
bring
also
all of
bring our new robot.
yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
I can understand.
Oh, yeah.
I can understand that. But for a food drive, I won't bring my robot. I bring my
Mhm.
robot to collect food. Maybe I can. But,
You wear your shirts. You wear your
Yeah.
shirts, and
Okay.
you talk about it. Always have stuff on you. Always have like flyers, brochures, anything, because no matter what you're doing, people are gonna ask, who you're there with or what your team is about, and then you can tell them. So yeah, if there is a clever way to do it, if you have your robot be there, even if your robot is just sitting there, we volunteered somewhere. I don't even know. I can't even remember what it was, but it was basically just doing volunteer work and had a robot there on display because people will stop and look at it and ask questions, and then you're just engaging with them. And I think there it's more about the fact that it's somebody that's outside of STEM already. So there you're actually really spreading, because you're spreading with people that otherwise wouldn't really be, they wouldn't be at a maker fair or searching out for STEM opportunities. In the parades, that's a really good idea too, and it's a good idea to have your robotic film do it.
This is our first year, and we didn't get started really until October. So we were kind of panicky. But the kids were a little disappointed that they were not going to be able to do anything really related to the robotics until January. So they decided, and that we were going to primarily work on fundraising. So they got an old, big RC car, and we're the Wither Vikings. That's our mascot.
Okay.
So they're building a Viking donation that they can remotely drive around basketball game, homecoming, Thanksgiving game,
That's a really good idea.
and tree lighting ceremony that they've got to, they have it all drawn up, but they haven't started to build yet. That will like reach out its hand with its bowl and just do this and,
And then they're also
say thank
working
you.
on that, so
Yeah.
that's keeping them busy and engaged in the meantime too. That's a really good idea. It's also good if you're a rookie team, so you're new to the town. It's a good way to get people talking about what you're doing. And if you can give out stuff, any opportunity you have to give out anything that kind of tells people like, this is new to our town, and kickoff is on blank date, and make sure to follow us. That would be good too, because if people know that it's something that's new and exciting happening in the town, then they can keep an eye on you.
Thank you.
Do you have a lot of students already?
We have a core group of 8 right now, but when fall sports stop, we'll have more.
Right.
I have a lot of kids that play football that can't. They'll be available after Thanksgiving game.
That's good. So a lot of the, and this goes back to your question too, is when you do anything in the community, whether it's STEM related or non-STEM related, and some people get a little touchy about this. I've noticed that they don't really want to go out there and share on social media what they're doing. They might not want to post on Facebook that they're doing X, Y, Z because they feel like they're bragging or, just constantly talking about themselves. But I mean, it's kind of the point. It's not the point. You're doing it for the good of the community and so that your kids learn to give back and so that people are impacted by what you're doing. Obviously, you're doing it for those reasons. But you also want to talk about it. Maybe you'll inspire other people to do things, or maybe you'll raise awareness about a cause that really needs it. So don't be afraid to talk about everything that you're doing. And also, if you have a small team, and this could come in handy, especially for rookies, don't be afraid to reach out to teams around you and ask if they want to help too. So if you only have like 10 or 15 kids, but there's a town next door that has 10 or 15 kids also, it's okay to reach out to them and say, hey, we're doing this. Do you guys want to help us? Because more often than times than not, they will say yes. The kids usually, they always want to work together. It's more fun. You'll be more impactful. You can help more people. And then you can also talk to judges and everything about how you collaborated with another team to make this impact. And making friends in the first community is always a plus. So that's one of the things that I don't think enough people do. And lately, they're starting to, but that's something that will also grow if you share it on social media, what you're doing. And the use of hashtags. You're doing something, especially if you're doing something with an event that's already arranged. So you're just kind of participating, saying it's a Alzheimer's walk or anything. If you're doing a maker's fair, anything that's already organized, they have a hashtag. If they don't have a hashtag, create a hashtag. Just take it upon yourself and create it for the whole event. Have a hashtag that's for your team specifically, but does everybody know what a hashtag is? Okay. Did you say?
Yeah,
So it's just.
We don't know how to use them.
I didn't cover that. I'm not prepared.
Sorry, we are very outdated.
Okay, I will. Are you guys the ones who control your social media or for your teams, or do your kids do it?
There's a mentor and.
Okay, tell the kids. They'll know. They're the ones who should be doing it.
You know, we see that.
Yeah.
Some things we just don't.
our social media is iffy, because I'm not unclear if the school allows us to use it or not.
That's a problem for a lot of teams, actually. I think we have that covered in one of our social media presentations. I'll look, but there are some teams, we know a lot, I know there's a lot of private schools that are really strict with social media, and it's frustrating because it kind of prevents them from doing a lot of things, but.
We luckily have a first venture, course for marketing. So she'll just post on her personal.
It's perfect, yeah, it's perfect. So as long as your kids know what the hashtags are, that it's just a way to connect with people online with similar interests. So if you're doing Alzheimer's Walk and the hashtag is like hashtag Alzheimer's Walk 2018, and you use that, anybody that clicks on it will be connected with everybody that's participating in that. So it's really important that your team has a hashtag. If you don't know if your team has a hashtag, but you don't control social media, your team does, you likely do, if they're doing it right. So just ask your team, what's our hashtag? And if you don't have one, have them make one. Christine, does your team have a hashtag?
Not really. Did at one point.
Yeah, I think. I just don't remember.
I mean, you use it for stuff.
Yeah. Yes, when you're going to events, anything that's happening in New England is the hashtag WeAreNE, so NE for New England. Use OMG robots, and there's a bunch. So if you can come up with a hashtag, if you're going to an event that already has a hashtag, start using it, even in the weeks leading up to it, the days leading up to it. If it's that day, that's when you find out about it. But you should have it be one of the things that you look into, so you can connect to people that are at the event. You can keep in touch about the event moving forward. So maybe if there's an opportunity for it to happen next year. And that's really just spreading the message. So typically if you find, say you go to a maker's fair, we had a Barnes and Noble maker fair last year. I want to say only about 250 people attend these, and I know there's teams from all over New England going to them. They had a hashtag, people were using the hashtag, and over the course of the weekend, I think most teams gained like 10 or 15 new followers, which is not a huge deal, but if you're doing a lot of stuff like this throughout the year, if you go to your local fair where there's, those 250 people turns into 15,000 people, and you have a hashtag, and you're using the events hashtag, it's just another way to connect with everybody. And this is off topic of community outreach, but also it's just something that I want everybody to do. When you go back to your shops, have your teams all look up their sponsors' hashtags. So whoever your sponsor companies are, find out what their hashtags are and use them like mad during build season and during competition season. If you have kids doing something with a robot and they're using Black & Decker tools and they're a sponsor of yours, take a picture and a hashtag and shout out to them because they're going to see it and they're going to be excited and they're going to retweet it and they're going to see value in that. So every sponsor, make sure that you are following them on social media, make sure that you know their hashtags, and even if you're not taking a picture that's anything related to them, at some point during the season, take a picture of your kids, post it somewhere, and say thank you to your sponsors. So that's my off-topic thing. I'm sure to do it. So for the non-STEM outreach, it's important before you sign up to do something, and we see a lot of teams doing this, signing up and either not being able to follow through because they're either in over their heads or they can't get enough kids to participate, or it's just an event that's not really taking off, or whatever the case may be. It's sad when you say you're going to do something or it's kind of a flop or it just doesn't go the way that you wanted it to go. So when you go back to the point where you're looking around and searching in town for something that's important and something that you feel you can make an impact, while there might be a whole bunch of things that really need your help, instead of just going out and picking the one that speaks to you the most, I would have been guilty of that because I love dogs. So I could just say, dog park, we're doing this, and we're not, but it's important to say, okay, when do you guys plan on doing this? Is it during, if it's during the months that you're not building a robot and you're not going to competitions? And what exactly do they need? Do you need somebody that's going to come in? Do they have to have like a bulldozer? Do they have to have licenses and certifications to operate any of this equipment? So you have to make sure that the needs that they have meet what you're capable of doing. And also, not only the time period that they're gonna do it in, but kind of the time commitment that they need from your kids. So, and you. So, you don't wanna say you're gonna do something and then find out that it's every single weekend for 6 weeks from 8 AM to 8 PM. You wanna make sure that it's things that you can commit to and you can pull off. And you have to sit and talk to your entire team and make sure they all understand that this is something that you're taking on as a team. And if your team does it differently and it's gonna be the responsibility of a certain set of kids or what have you, that's fine. But make sure that everybody that's gonna be involved knows exactly what's involved and they're all on the same page and they agree to it before you say yes, you'll do it, and before you fully commit. Another thing to think about when you're making the decision of what to be involved in is the impact it's gonna have. So if there's an opportunity where you're gonna impact, say, maybe a couple thousand people in your city or town, that's fantastic. If it's, if it's within your reach, do you wanna do that, or you're gonna slightly impact them. They're gonna think what you did was really cool and it's gonna make them happy. Or are you gonna significantly impact maybe 3 or 4 families who don't have anything at Christmas time? You're gonna do a drive. So it's kind of just measuring what's the most important to you. I don't think there's really a right or wrong answer. It's just whether you want to have like an impact on large amounts of people, or if you want to have a huge impact on smaller number of people. And there's different things to take into consideration. A lot of the time, some of the things that you can do in the community maybe are a little bit more private. If you are doing toy drives, you can take pictures of the toys and the kids with toys or whatever, but you might not have the interaction with the community. So I don't think that's really an issue. So those are just some things to keep in mind when you're making a decision. So it's best if you figure out what your goal is and then proceed. Do we have any questions? Yeah.
Because for us, our robotics team, the first year, I think we kind of go on a lot of the fair, but then just like we are so busy, just like go to the fair, and then I think afterward, maybe some of the kids got burned, doing all this fair a lot of times. Then it may not be working out that good, but I think we have to think about what, just like what you say, what your goal is, just like a company too, right? When you do an outreach, do you have particular topics or particular aim? And then you just go and go for those fairs instead of I go this one, I go that one, and then you end up doing nothing. Just like it doesn't have a particular goal. So
Yeah, you definitely don't. It's very easy to sign up for everything. You get people asking you, hey, do you want to come and do a robot demo here? Do you want to do this? Or do you want to help volunteer here? But it is important to remember that between your kids and your mentors, while you might want to sign up to do everything, you're going to get burned out. And then kids are going to start dropping, parents are going to start getting irritated. So it is good to decide first, just like a business and with a business plan, what your goal is. And if you always go to a particular demo and you set up your booth and you stay there for 8 hours and you give out a couple cards because you've never ever heard anything back from there, maybe it's something you don't want to do in the future, unless you're having really positive interactions with kids. That's different. If you go to a local fair and your booth sees about 500 families with small children, and your kids get the benefit of talking to them, explaining first to them, showing them the robot, that's impactful. And if you're not overextended, it's okay. But if you're not seeing anything back from it, or you don't feel like you're really connecting with anybody in that organization, it's okay to pass on something and try to find something that's a little better. What you're doing with bringing a robot or a mechanism and being a rookie team, that's great, especially because you're keeping the kids involved prior to kickoff, which is, they're all excited and waiting for this thing. So that's really good. I don't know if I think that about covers it. Do you want me to just keep talking?
Maybe we can take a break. Take it to in person to ask a lot of questions about. But
Yeah.
she's been deeply involved with like any first unique ways to make your money.
Yeah, I could talk, we can just move on and talk about other stuff.
I have a kind of a stupid open-ended question. It doesn't really have an answer, but I'm wondering about your thoughts about how you assess the effectiveness of an outreach activity. I mean, in advance, you can kind of take some guesses, but as you're going, what do you look for, and what kind of postmortem you do?
Sure.
um,
So-
with that?
One of the things that was seemed like such a no-brainer to me after, but that I loved was I bought one of those clickers. I don't know what the actual like technical term
I think
is.
they're both others.
It's a clicker. Yeah, I call it the clicker or the people counter.
Yeah.
So you have that in your hand, or you not your hand, you give it to the kids, and have them count how many people. So it's not so now what I've done is so I'm in marketing and I'm a business development manager, so I get a little bit too obsessed with the analytical side of it.
Mhm.
So I have one of the kids on our team hold it, who counts how many people walk by. They need me. How many people walk by the booth, and then I have another one that counts how many people stop and talk to us. If I were there, I'm probably also marking down how many people stop and talk to us that had kids, who didn't have kids. You don't have to do all of that. It's a little nuts, and I don't know that it even gets us anything back except I like it. The most important thing would be to know how many people are going through an event. So if it's a standard, you're going to a fair, a festival, a maker fair, anywhere where you have your robot set up, it's good to know ahead of time. If you ask, and it's okay to ask when you're finding this organization, whether they're coming to you, you're going to them, how many people are anticipated to be there, and then count how many people actually are there, because it's going to come around a year later, and you're going to know, well, they said there was going to be 10,000 people there, but we actually saw, 600, whatever. So measuring how many people walk by, how many people talk to your kids, even just getting the sentiment back from your team when they come back. Did they say that it was boring? Did they say it was wonderful? Did they have particular stories about what happened there? Did they give out contact information? Also, always have a clipboard or a list, or if you're really tech savvy and ahead of most of us, a tablet where people can, if they want more information, they can put in their name and their email address. They can even click if they're interested in mentoring, joining a team, or sponsoring. So you have that, and then that's actual trackable data that you're going to have. And you'll have that on top of, okay, 400 people walked by our booth and we got 15 names. So then and then of those 15 names, how many people actually contacted us or responded to your contact? So then you do what you can actually say. The important part, and this is where a lot of us fail, is in keeping that information. You got all this information, but now put it somewhere. So start an Excel sheet where you say this is what you did. And it's time consuming, but in the end, you're saving your own time because you're not going to be doing things that aren't meaningful. So having a clicker, having sponsor packages, also just count how many flyers you go there with. If you go there with 200 flyers and you go home with 190, probably wasn't the event for you, or your kids weren't engaging enough and asking, do you want to take a flyer? Because that's a problem too. And I really can't stress enough how much it is, how annoying it can be when I go to any event and see, and not even just robot teams, but anything, you have a booth and it's all nicely set up or not so nicely set up, whatever, and there's people walking by, but the kids are so busy interacting with one another or so busy being a little bit too shy to talk to people that they don't know. So it is important in trying to prep your kids to be prepared to. I mean, it's intimidating. I think the trade shows where there's adults standing and manning a booth that kind of look like they're a little hesitant to talk to you, and it's like, this is what you're here for. So for kids, some of them just don't really excel at that. And to that end, it's not completely unheard of, or it could be really valuable to try to help them with public speaking. So if you are going to have a team of kids that goes out there and interacts with the community, maybe you try to teach them some public speaking tips, or maybe you even reach out to your local Toastmasters organization and ask them to give you a little presentation and talk to you so that the kids can pick up some tips on how to interact with people that they don't know and how to spark a conversation and feel more confident about it. For almost all first kids, once they start talking about it, you really can't get them to stop. So it's just the initial, taking the step. And even as adults, it's true, right? And even as adults, it can be intimidating to talk to people. So, but I have seen from my own team, from other teams, sometimes you even see it at events, if there's judges or other, kind of walking by, want to talk, and kids are like shy and antsy. So if you do go to an event so make sure there's always a mentor around or an adult, so the kids can't, the team's not giving you feedback that they weren't really talking to anybody, you find out that the place was mocked, you have to make sure that the kids are doing their part, interacting, and feel comfortable also.
Stand in front of the team.
Mhm.
Stand in front of the team.
Yeah. Yes.
Not 8 feet behind it.
Yeah, or like hiding or talking to one another. There's definitely been times that I see like, oh look, you guys are having such a great time interacting with one another, but you get to do that all the time. So how about you just interact with these people? Once they get going, it's usually fine. It's just, they are teenagers, and sometimes it takes a little prodding. But like I said, once you get them talking about it, they're fine, and they can talk about it, and it can be inspiring, and they have the information. But yeah, there is things you can measure. How many people walk by, how many flyers you went with and came home with. Always try to collect the names and numbers. That's something that I know a lot of teams have a lot of success with, because then you can just add these people to your email blasts. You can, thank them for stopping by. You could send out anything that you have. You can send some information to those people as well.
We talk about sponsorships, getting people sponsored, not necessarily forms and all that.
Oh, I can talk about forms.
No, but in terms of like, I went to a competition, I'm like, hey, I know that company, I know that company. Like,
Right.
will they sponsor multiple teams, and how does that work?
A lot of companies will sponsor multiple teams depending on how big the company is. And then it goes back to what their mission is and what their goals are. So whether or not they want to have, what their reach is. A lot of the bigger companies not only sponsor teams, but also sponsor events. Something that I've heard recently that I was really fascinated by, because I don't know why I hadn't heard of it or thought of it, was having sponsors actually sponsor some of your outreach stuff. So if you're going to be holding this, I'm totally making this up as I go, this thought, so don't quote me on it or anything. But if you're holding a Lego drive, Legos in Connecticut, why not reach out to them and ask if they'll do something when they match you, or anything. I mean, there's literally anything. You can think of different clever ways. But if you do have an initiative that you want to take part in, but maybe you don't have the resources, reach out to sponsors and ask, like, hey, do you want to sponsor this thing that we're doing? And there's different ways that companies can get back, because every company has different goals and different resources and a different budget. And depending on the time of year that you contact a company at, they might already have hit their limit, but there's something else that they can do that's not as expensive as funding a team. The best thing that you can do, and I don't know what career you guys from. So you can use organizations like the Chamber of Commerce. If you have Rotary clubs, things of that nature, where you can get a list of businesses in your town, around your town, and make a really, really pretty and really professional sponsorship package. Wording and everything has to be nice, but it also has to look nicely put together. So there's samples online. There's great samples on Chief Delphi. But if you,
I'm sorry, where is it?
oh, Chief Delphi, I'll give you all of them.
Oh, okay,
So you want your wording to be nice. You want it to be professional. You want it to be inspiring. You want to talk about how wonderful FIRST is and what these kids are learning, working hand in hand with professionals. And you want to have a sponsorship package. So you want to have the levels. Maybe you have gold level, bronze, platinum, whatever. You can give it clever, cute little names that has to do with robots or tools, whatever you want to do. Oh, that's cute. So that's important. And another thing, when you make these promises, when the sponsor, when they reply with yes, we want to do the sponsorship package, make sure they get what you promised them. Because there's a lot of times that it's easy, especially considering that most teams are sending out this information right before build season, which is not ideal. You should try to raise your money in the summer or not during building competition season, but life's not perfect. You're sending out the information, and then by the time you start to get the money back, or maybe you get a check here or there, it's easy, like, oh, we got a check, let's deposit it. But then make sure you follow through. So you want to have actual, tracking. What I've seen be successful is if you have sponsorship tracking forms, so you'll have a spreadsheet that this is the sponsor, this is when they sent money, this is how much money they sent us, this is what their level is, this is what's owed to them. I had to even go so far as doing this is what's owed to them, and then doing a strike through as they received what was owed to them, because I've never had a company come back and say, hey, you promised us a picture to hang on our wall that says thank you, we didn't get it. But when they're doing an audit of where they're spending their money and what they're getting in return, they might say, hey, those guys said they were gonna do all this stuff, we haven't seen any of it. So don't do that. If you say you're gonna do something, and even it could be a responsibility of one thing, 1 or 2 kids, make sure everybody gets this taken care of. And then have an adult follow up on it also. And forms. This is something that I just started exploring because another team brought it to my attention and I thought it was pretty cool, is that they have a file that's every sponsor has a form that's filled out and it has the contact person and it has their preferred method of communication and it has all of their social media handles, so their Twitter handle, if they have Snapchat, they have YouTube, and their hashtags. So that's something that as you're going to an event, especially, you just have all of that information so that they can randomly tweet that. Because these days, for sponsors, it used to be sponsors wanted to have their name in a brochure or they wanted to have their name on a website. Those are still valuable. But what most sponsors, especially sponsors that are giving money to first teams, what they really want and what's really valuable is digital space. So the space on your website is fantastic. A shout out on social media is even more. Space on your robot and pictures their logo on your robot and pictures of their logo on your robot, pictures of their logo on your t-shirt, and honestly, like tweeting, Instagram, like crazy. That's what they really go for. Every year, Christine can attest to the work that we have to do with UTC to make sure that we tweet at them during events and we introduce them to the UTC sponsor teams at events and we get pictures of them during events. So just knowing that, this is UTC. They're a big company. They take what they're doing very seriously. They donate a lot of money and it seems like they want to continue donating a lot of money. So obviously that's working. So even though we have to jump through hoops during events to make sure that they're getting all of the recognition that they want, they deserve it and they come back. So it's something that you want to do with your time. But don't be afraid to contact people that wouldn't be an obvious. You can definitely reach out to, especially if it's for the smaller ones, because it adds up. So if it's okay to find different, more clever ways of engaging with people. It doesn't have to be all tech related or all, industrial tools or engineering. It could be, I've seen a lot of teams sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts, and I honestly can't think of anything more suitable than that. So I think we're almost at time if they have a break in between, right? So if they do stuff earlier. Do you have any other questions?
What are some things that a sponsor might ask from you in return? Would it be only promotional or?
Usually, if anybody has anything to add, please do, because I don't know it all, but usually they like to see their information on a website, based on a t-shirt, based on the robot is nice. It's always good to follow up with a thank you letter. If you have a successful season, even if you don't have a successful season, there's always some successes to talk about. Send them a letter at the end of the season and say, thank you. This is what we accomplished this season. This is what our kids learned. It wouldn't have been possible without you. Send them a card, send them a letter, send them a picture of the team. But usually it's the space. They really want to be. They're doing So the bigger, the companies are doing it almost for the same reason as we're doing outreach, to get it out there, what you're doing in the community and the impact that you're making. They also have a little bit of a vested interest, especially UTC, that these are some of their future employees, and they're supporting STEM, they're supporting getting kids involved, and so they have a longer term goal. But it's really just the awareness and getting out there. And if you ask them too, what would you like in return? That's what the form is good. If it says, the company name and how much they're giving, then just ask, what they want in return and make sure that it's clear. And that they can get it. I think I have some cards. I'll give you some. So
Thank
you can-
Rosemary McCarthy.
So, when we formed our robot team 3 years ago, we also have our team in non-profit organizations. So some of the company will be able to donate because I know that my company will not donate or anything if it's a it's like just organization they won't donate. But if you are a non-profit organization, you establish all those stuff, it's much easier to get that kind of donations.
Yes,
Because
that is
just like they are
something.
removed from the company, sometimes they don't donate. Yeah, and then the other thing, I think a lot of the rocket team may have done is for the NASA. They also have some kind of sponsorship, so we have that.
Yeah, we missed that. We came on board so late in the game, and we didn't even have time to apply